We now turn our attention to the Diamond, where tomorrow it's the Mallard Creek Series, otherwise known as Furman and Wofford. This, of course, is Brett Harker, the Paladins baseball coach. A little Southern Conference action against your neighbor.
Oh, yeah.
Todd Interdonato coming in.
This is the one I look forward to. This is the fun one. It means a lot to our neighborhood. Todd lives 2 or 3 houses down from me. Depends on what you say, because he's around one turn. But we have a very close neighborhood. We live in a very tight-knit community where all of our kids play together, and we have a lot of cookouts and tailgates and stuff. So this is a fun one for our community, and there's a lot on the line. I've said it before, but if you guys haven't heard, the loser of this series has to fly the other team's flag in their yard for a week. 2 years ago, Todd flew it, and we marched down there as a family and put it in his front yard. And then last year, unfortunately, they took the series from us. And my 4-year-old daughter cried every day that the Wofford flag was in our yard. So there's a lot at stake here.
Yeah, and from what you were telling me, he kind of upped the ante with a larger flag.
He upped the ante with a larger flag. So right now I'm on eBay trying to find one of those projectors like you see at Christmas time with Diamond Fs going everywhere. But we got to take care of business on the field first.
I think the funniest thing that you told me about Emma last year was when the flag was in the yard, and what was it she said? I don't want to be a Wofford.
Yeah, she was crying right before we went to school, and I said, baby, what's the matter? And she said, I don't want our neighbors to think that we're Wofford now. And I said, I think we're okay. I think they know that we're not Wofford. So
that's funny. Hey, you know, the team is playing pretty well right now. But that was a tough loss back on Tuesday night against Winthrop, wasn't it?
It affected me. It really did. That, you know, you have losses. I've talked to a couple different coaches since then, especially in the game of baseball where you play so many games. It's just different. You have to have a different mindset after wins, after losses. You have to be able to let things roll off your back, because if you don't, you'll go mad when you play that many games. And look, the New York Yankees are 2 games under 500. I mean, it's just baseball is one of those games where you'll go mad trying to be perfect, even though that's what everybody wants. And but some games just affect you more than others. And I probably haven't been that affected since we lost at Clemson 3 years ago when we had the lead in the 9th, where you can't sleep after it. And it was one of those games, and I was able to open up to the guys about why I was disappointed and our lack of focus for 9 innings, and just kind of went through the motions. And then all of a sudden we kick it into gear, and I felt like all of a sudden we were invested and made a run at, and then just lack of execution. Just things that are not going to, get us to the place we want to be. But I was able to move on from it. We had a good practice, and we're looking forward to the Terriers coming into town.
I think there were some positive things, obviously, that came out of a very difficult loss. The first and foremost, from my standpoint anyway, what was the way John Michael Bertrand bounced back.
Really threw the ball well. Very, very pleased with the way he threw the ball. Really only had that one mistake pitch that cost us with the home run to Spires. But, man, to see him bounce back and throw the ball that way, that was good, because his last outing was the worst of his career. So to see him bounce back was really good. And I know I'm stealing your thunder, but Landon Kay having some hits and running one out of the yard, I think that's just a huge monkey off his back as well. And I think you're going to see him really take off.
Yeah, because, as we have kind of been documenting the story of his season, you know that he's too good of a hitter to stay in this extended slump. And to his credit, still finding ways to get on base. I think even coming into the game at 211 with a batting average, he had been on base 24, 25 consecutive games. But this is a guy who hit 337 and cranked 11 home runs a year ago. And you said last year, not to throw this up in your face, but I will, that you thought he had the swing that translates best to the professional game of anybody on your team. Yeah, and that's pretty high praise from somebody who played all the years of professional baseball.
It's a simple swing, and I still feel that way. His timing's just been off, but I'll tell you, it's been a whole lot better. And the thing I'll always get my guys back, but the thing that you can praise about Landon, look at his on-base percentage. Mm-hmm. And the guy's still getting on base. He's getting a bunch of walks, and is really, if you look over the last 10 games, hit a whole lot better. He just put himself in a hole, and it's going to be it's going to be a long process to get that batting average back up to where it's something that we'll stop talking about it, which I know that's tough for him. It's very much like a relief pitcher. Once you get that high ERA, it takes a very long time for people to stop talking about your elevated ERA.
Right, and Bertrand was the perfect example. He goes into the Georgia State start with an ERA of 4.19 that is heading down. And after an inning and 2/3, when you pulled him, he leaves and it's 6.10.
And it takes you a month to get it respectable again. And that's our sport. And in particular on the mound, you can only go 0 for 4, maybe 0 for 5 at the plate. You could do unlimited damage to your ERA as a pitcher, which is always a fun little part of being, especially a relief pitcher with your innings pitched.
Speaking like someone who knows what he's talking about, right?
Unfortunately, I know that a little too well.
What was the difference in Bertrand from the Winthrop start versus the Georgia State start?
It's all about keeping the ball down. And I
Just
know
that simple.
It's literally that simple. That's why he's good. That's why when he throws bullpens, we feel so positive about running him out there. He just doesn't throw balls above the knees. And for whatever reason, the day against Georgia State, he literally couldn't get the ball down. And that's why I knew just running him back out there, it just wasn't an option. We had to get him out. He couldn't get the ball down because he doesn't have explosive stuff. He's just a pitcher. Mm-hmm. And, all this movement, the pitching up in the zone that you hear, well, it's because Major League Baseball, the average fastball is 95, and out of the bullpen it's 98. Well, you can pitch up in the zone there. For most of college baseball and high school baseball, all these travel balls and facilities that are, these guys don't know what they're talking about when they talk about keep the ball down. Well, yeah, we do. Just because they're doing it at major league level, they're pitching at a completely different level, velocity-wise, that you can get beat. We have a guy that I think TK pitches up in the zone well. It's because he's got a fastball that allows him to do that. Not that he throws 95, but because of the angle when he gets down, there are times to throw up, and then there are simply pitchers that cannot be successful up in the zone.
Yeah. It was just great to see him bounce back, as you said, the one mistake. And as I crafted it on the broadcast Tuesday night, it's a Latham Stadium home run.
It was, yeah.
But Latham Stadium helps us a lot more than it hurts us, so you have to live with those things when they happen.
It does, and we know that, and that's why we really don't complain about it, because we know that in theory, the way I present it to our guys is it should always be our advantage, because we know how to pitch to it, and then when we make a mistake, we expect it's not a big deal to us. When visitors can get rattled, should get rattled a whole lot quicker than us with that short porch and left.
Yeah, we are talking Furman baseball with Brett Harker, the Powellins, and the Wofford Terriers, beginning on Friday. Tomorrow, game time change in the series, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. What's been your assessment of Jason Costa since he's been back behind the plate?
It's good. Obviously, we'd like his arm to be in a little better shape, but he calls a great game and manages our pitching staff really, really well. We're going to have some tough decisions to make with Wofford coming in with how much they run. And our pitchers, I think we're getting better. It feels like every time we do a high leg kick is the one time they run. And we're trying to eliminate that. One of Leo's big theories, which I really like, is when you're in the stretch, just pitch at the same time to the plate every time. So if you're a 1-2-8, just be a 1-2-8 every time, whether the guy's fast or whether the guy's slow, whether the guy's at first and whether the guy's at first or second. If you're a 1-3-5, be a 1-3-5. But don't vary in speed. One, you're gambling whether they're going to be able to run or not. And two, you're messing with your mechanics. It'd be like going from the windup and you do a high leg kick one time and a low one the next. It's hard to be consistent like that. So that's something that we've worked on. For the most part, as a staff, we can be in a 1-3 range. For you guys that don't understand, that's the time from when you first make your first movement on the mound to the time that it hits the catcher's mitt, a 1.3 seconds. You want it there or below to give your catcher a chance with a 2-0 pop time or less to throw a runner out. And that's something that we continue to work on. With lefties, you don't necessarily need to do that, but you need to have a good pickoff move to keep them in check.
What Costa's move behind the plate has done, obviously, has opened up the spot for Jared Mahalik, and we obviously know the 5 games that he's had, homered in 4 straight, had a couple of hits on Tuesday night to continue to swing the bat well. So if something happens that Jason can't go behind the plate, if you have to make that decision based on whether it's the health of the arm or Wofford's ability to steal bases, then that starts a domino effect in your lineup.
It does, and that's why we've been running Mahalik out there and left to get him comfortable. You just do whatever you can as long as it doesn't become a liability defensively. You do whatever you can to keep your best bats in the lineup, and it's all these little intricate things that are domino effects as the coaching staff that a lot of the normal fan doesn't really see. But Every little move makes a difference. A lot of people, well, why hasn't Mahalik been playing? Well, it's a pretty simple answer. We didn't have a position to put him in, and Costa isn't coming out of the lineup as a DH. He's our best hitter and has been all year. So it's just amazing how, like you said, these little things add up, and certain pieces. You'd be surprised how many good bats we have on the bench, but there's only so many positions guys can play.
Yeah. How have you adjusted here past the halfway point of your second season to being the guy that everybody second guesses? Because as an assistant coach, obviously that doesn't happen, or at least doesn't happen very often. But now every move you make is even at this level, it is micromanaged and second guessed by fans, by media, maybe by even some of your own players from time to time. How have you handled that?
I will tell you, I think it's a really good thing, honestly, coming from a pitcher, because you have to have thick skin. You're on the center of the field, and everything you do is a huge impact. And especially as a closer, if you lose the game, you got to have thick skin, and that's part of being a head coach. That's part of the deal. I will tell you, this might be an extremely optimistic way of looking at it, but for instance, the famous Crawford bunt that I put on, obviously a lot of people aren't happy with that. That to me is a sign that we have passionate fans. And if nobody gave a crap whether I put on bunt or not, I think we'd be in bigger trouble. The fact that we're a mid-major baseball team and that many people are upset about a bunt, that tells me our program's going in the right direction, because people care about what we're doing and are invested. I'll tell you, if I had that situation again, I would bunt again. And that's part of the deal of being around a lot of baseball games and knowing the strengths of your team, things that, the average fan or even somebody as close as you, they're not there at every practice and know the different abilities of guys, know who can bunt, know who's susceptible to ground ball double plays, know what's going on in the dugout, and know what pinch hitting options you have in the dugout as well. So there's all these things that go through your head that the average fan just says, well, why the heck did we bunt there? He killed a rally. Well, I can talk. I'd love to talk with you about it. There's about 10 reasons why I did it.
Yeah, because the one thing that I heard after the game was he's bunting with his cleanup hitter who's batting almost 300 to try to get a 133 hitter to the plate.
Yep.
That was the big thing that people were talking about. So this is
the beauty of why I love coming on your show, because now you can open up the curtain and see what I'm thinking. So a couple things are going on there. You got first and second, nobody out. The tying runs at second, the winning runs at first, and you have a guy that, although he is hitting 300, has been very susceptible to breaking balls here as of late. So I'm trying to take the double play out of effect, because the only thing that's going to completely kill this rally is Jake hitting into a double play. So we tell him to bunt, and now they put on what I'm almost certain of is a crash. So I yell out, if they crash, swing through it.
Which we heard on the broadcast,
and then
by
they
the way.
instantly change their play. So now I know, okay, we're not going to bunt into where they're going to get our lead runner. So I'm feeling pretty good, who, by the way, Jake, I probably would put as our top 3 bunters on the team. I'm feeling pretty good about having the winning run or the tying run at third, the winning run at second. And, for whatever reason or not, Jake thought that they crashed, and they didn't. And he took a swing at the first one, and they called that foul ball. And so now we're 0-1, and I know he's going to start seeing breaking balls. So just telling you what goes through the head coach's mind, I know that Jake has been susceptible to breaking balls down and out of the zone, swinging. So now I want him to square up and be able to see that breaking ball really well and just be able to pull back on it until we get to a hitter's count, or if he just throws a fastball, get it down. Now, I'll tell you, as far as it being your cleanup hitter, well, our cleanup hitter hits second. That's just the way we do our lineup. Yeah. Jake is not our true cleanup hitter. We hit our cleanup hitter second. We hit what I would consider our third hitter. We hit our best 2 hitters second and third. Jake has hit anywhere from 2 to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 all year. He's bounced all around, so I wouldn't consider him a true cleanup hitter. I would consider him a good hitter for us. And what I'm thinking is we get second and third, they're going to do one of 2 things. They're either going to pitch to Dion, but they have to have the infield in. Well, I feel very confident Dion be able to put the ball in the outfield. Or they're going to intentionally walk Dion, in which, do you know who's coming up next? The guy's already got 3 hits and a home run on the day who can run a little bit, so I'm not worried about him hitting into a double play. These are all the things that are going into your head. And then you get to a 2-strike count with Jake, and this is what goes to my head. Jake is on go at all times, and this guy's going to throw a breaking ball down and out of the zone. It's going to be a whole lot easier for him to recognize that from the bunt situation and pull back. If I can get it to a 2-2 count, I pull it off because he's going to get a fastball. These are all the things. Unfortunately, we didn't execute, and at the end of the day, the loss is on me. That's always the case. For those online and stuff, this loss on Harker. The losses are always on Harker.
That's right.
I mean, every time. I tell the guys, the wins are theirs, the losses are mine, and that's just the way it is. But it is nice to be able to – this is what we're thinking, and this is why we're doing what we're doing. And I always go back and review it. Hey, what I do this again, talk with our coaching staff. What do you think about this? And they said, Coach, it's just 10 out of 10. I even went up to Jake the next day. I said, Jake, in the back of your head, do you want to swing there? Or what do you think? He said, Coach, we have to bunt. We got to give the guys a chance to get the job done. Unfortunately, it didn't work that time, you know. The other thing you're thinking as you're going through all the scenarios, even if Jake doesn't get the bunt down, you still have 2 chances to get a base hit. Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
This is Brett Harker, and this is a look inside the open wound of a baseball coach.
Yeah, but those are all the things that happen in a matter of 10 seconds.
Right.
You know, those are all the things that you're thinking of that you don't ever really get to tell anybody. Everybody just thinks, oh, that guy wants to bunt. Well, I don't want to give outs. I just don't want to hit into a double play. I want us the best chance of winning the ball game there.
And we, as we saw, if you want to go back to a year ago when we had that incredible run, and you know, you had told me at the beginning of the season, I don't expect bunting to be a big part of what we do, but you had to adapt to what you had available at the time. And man, the small ball was a big part of that success.
It was
in 2017.
It was, and I'll tell you, in a perfect world, we bunt once a week. I love to be able to run more, hit and run more. Unfortunately, we just haven't been very successful at that.
And we're really good at getting guys thrown out stealing, aren't we?
Really, really good at it. We did take a couple bases at Mercer, which felt good. But look, we're always just trying to adapt and get a little bit better and put ourselves in a better situation. And a lot of it is just so much based on, you know, the mentality of that kid that's at the plate. What is the best situation to put him in the best spot to be successful?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm glad you wanted to go into that, because I think it's important for fans on occasion. It's not something you want to do after, you know, it's not the major leagues. You're not going to get the interrogation after every game, but on occasion, just to get a little bit of a glimpse into everything that goes in to making a decision like that, because it's never as cut and dried as the fans or even some of us in the media like to make sometimes.
Yeah. And, you know, another thing you're sitting there thinking, too, is you got Brandon Elmy sitting on the bench at any point you could pinch hit with. So there's just all those things. And honestly, it's kind of fun to be able to talk about it, because as a head coach, very rare do you get to just say, well, this is what I was thinking. And, no, it didn't work that time, but let me tell you my thought process, you know. And that's why it's nice to have a show like this.
Well, listen, if this is fun, I can start second guessing you all the time if you want me to.
Yeah, that's all right. My wife does it. I'm getting used to it.
Yeah, well, there you go. That has nothing to do with baseball.
Not at all. Not at all.
So this weekend rotation going to remain the same?
It is, yeah. And, you know, the weather doesn't look good on Sunday. We'll most likely have to play a doubleheader. We won't make that call till tomorrow. But because of different things with they're going to broadcast the game live with My40 or something like that, they needed to know a definite start time, and that's why we moved that game up to 1 o'clock on Saturday, so we knew whether we played a doubleheader or not, that was our definite start time. And if we end up playing 2, they'll be able to air both of them. And I think that'll be a good thing for both programs to have a local television show broadcasting the game.
And did that also play a part in the moving of the game to 5 o'clock?
It did. That was something that they requested, just because they're commuting back and forth with a quicker turnaround on Saturday. They just requested if we can move the game up an hour, and our game ops are able to do that. And, you know, I think in the long run it'll end up being good. The baseball games go too long anyway. Let's get this thing started a little bit earlier.
I don't know. There are a lot of places that I can tell you I would rather not be than spending 3 hours or so at the ballpark.
I do it a lot, so I must like it.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, listen, man, let's this is always a fun series.
Yeah, it is.
And the Mallard Creek. You can't call it the Mallard Creek Bowl. Harbin gets upset.
Harbin gets really upset. It's not a bowl; it's a series. Even though the original name in our neighborhood is bowl, but it's a series. So
well, let's hope that you're the one planting the flag this year.
That is the game plan right there, and our guys are excited. But we got a lot of alumni coming back. We got the Northwoods Little League night.
Yeah.
There's a lot of exciting stuff. We should have really good crowds, and the weather should be pretty nice.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it, Brett.
All right, thank you, Dan.
All right, that is head coach Brett Harker.